What's up everyone, Lonnie Payne here with a short video on how to repair a flipper circuit board.
Welcome to the jungle, we got fun and games.
You might see my Jurassic Park down here is opened up. I was on vacation last week, had a buddy staying at my house, and all of a sudden he said the right flipper wasn't working. So when I got home, did a little diagnosing and had a stuck flipper basically. When I put the fuse back in, it immediately locked on, so I knew I had an issue. So I've already taken the board out. It's actually the Rottendog FLP 023 3-in-1 board. Some of you may know or recognize the machine as Jurassic Park. It's the one I rebuilt, took to Texas a couple years ago. It's got about 700 to 800 plays on it since I put this new board in. Dad East Games have a history of having some end-of-stroke switches with their flipper boards, even have a service bulletin come out to fix that. I didn't want to take any chances, so I actually bought this board to replace it, and now I've got an issue with this board. But I'm going to go through, kind of teach you my thought process on fixing a circuit board. Hopefully that'll help you understand how the board works, and maybe those thought processes will also help you to maybe diagnose other boards as well if you want to do your own board work. When I started restoring pinball machines, I used to send my boards off. Slowly I've taught myself how to work on it using some documentation on the internet, and just over the years have learned how the boards work. And so now I do all my own board work, and the thought processes on how to fix them are similar throughout the different types of boards, because you use the same thought process even though the boards themselves might be different. When I first lifted the play field up, I did a check of all the wiring and everything underneath with the flippers and everything, and the switches, and switches were registering fine. All the wires looked good on the flippers and everything, so I assumed it was in the board. So once I looked down there, sure enough, had a fuse that was blown out. You can actually see, I'm not sure if you can really tell very well, but there's a little black mark on that third pin there, and that's actually the power that goes to that right flipper. So when it was locked on, it was actually heating up, and it actually burned that a little bit. So I'll actually replace that connector with the new style that are a little bit higher amperage anyways when I put it all back together. Alright, got the board on the table here, and I've already done some diagnosing, and I've already actually taken the bad transistor off, but I'm going to kind of show you what I did. Just kind of went through, download schematics off Rottendog's site, and because I know it's the right flipper, it's this circuit area up here. Normally it's a transistor, but I'll go ahead and check everything in a line just to make sure that one failure didn't lead to another, so I try and catch them all. So everything tested out good. But there's one thing about boards is probably 90% of the time you can test things that are on the board, but if there's a failure of a component can lead to another component testing bad. And an example of that is during my first initial test, this diode right here actually tested as a short, but there was actually nothing wrong with that diode, and the reason is you can tell the lines here come up to these 2 points right here, which is part of this transistor that I've actually already taken off. Well, those two were shorted out, so obviously that gives you a clear path over here, so it made it look like that diode was shorted, when in reality it was fine. So that's just, that's how sometimes it can be misleading, but for the most part, things tend to work normally. The good thing about like this flipper board is you had 3 flippers. You got this section, and this section. They're pretty much all identical. And so if you are trying to compare, you can actually test these and figure out how these are supposed to test if you think that's the one that's bad. So you can test these transistors. If these two test fine, but this one tests different, then you found the one that's bad. And that's, several things in a pinball machine are that way. The switch matrix, the lamp matrix, you have 8 rows, 8 columns. So, you can start testing things that are next to what you think's wrong to confirm the problem until you start understanding exactly what's going on. And then, as you get more experience, you kind of know what's going on based on what you think's happening. But until you get a real good grip on it, you can use that kind of as a backup. Everything tested fine in the line until I got back to this Q. Let's see. Well, the D1 diode didn't test well because of the failure, but we pointed out that was the reason that did. So I went back to Q7, which is this one right here, and that's when I got the failure. And so basically it was shorted off and locking on the coils. Okay, so now I'm going to test the transistor that I think is bad, which is Q7. So I'm going to compare it to these two, which is the same one in the other two flipper lines. So I'll go to the other side. Here's my transistor right there. I think this one, particular one, it was the red in the middle. Put it on this side, you get the 654. And this side, you shouldn't get anything. So we'll go test this one again, this one just to verify that. All right, 656 on that one. Nothing on this side. So the transistor on this one, which was the same one, instead of getting that 654 or something, I get a 0.015, which is almost a dead short. And so you can tell that that's actually a short there too, which it should be a no contact. So you can tell this particular transistor is bad. So like I said, I've already taken it out. Problem is, of all the parts I have in stock, that's not one I have, so I'm going to have to order that, and I'll finish the video when I get that part on order. But that was causing this fuse to blow, and like I said, that pin right, I think it was pin number 10, I think, was burning because it was a constant feed of electricity. So anyways, we'll get that transistor in, and then I'll finish the video installing that and installing the board back in the game. When it comes to connectors, I don't replace any connector with the original IDC. They have a lower amperage rating. You can see on several machines where they burn. In fact, we just showed you in Jurassic Park where it got a little hot. So I go with the Molex style, which here's one you can cut to size. You can see I've already actually cut that one once. Then they just have the places where you install the pins. And these are the pins I use. If you look real close, you can see that there's little edges on the pin. It's not just a flat, there's those little edges, so it actually covers 3 sides of the header pin when it goes in. They actually have a higher amperage rating, and so anytime, especially for GI connections or anything, you just always want to replace it with these higher quality connectors. The originals just weren't designed to last that long, so get yourself some good, I think they're called Trifurcon connectors. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but that's what they're called. And then just, if you're going to be working on pinball machines, get you some good tools. Get you good wire strippers and some good crimp tools. This actually is a Radio Shack one. I'm sure other brands make it, but it's a great stripping tool. It just makes it really simple. You can actually adjust the tension based on the wire with that little knob. And this is just a Waldom, and it's just a great crimper. It's got 2 different A and B sizes. So just get yourself some good tools. It's worth the upfront cost to make things easier down the road. Let's go get that connector changed. Okay, if you look close on this wire that I cut, you'll notice that it loops over. So basically, the wire is going to connect to both this end plug and the one next to it. So the way I do this with a new connector is I cut a little piece of wire. And if I can keep the same color scheme, I will, but I don't have tons of it. So I just cut a little piece of wire here that has, strip both ends. And then I get one of my connectors, and I'll go ahead and put one connector on the end of this. What I try and do is you can see there's two different sizes of the crimps. So I'll use the smaller one first. And I'll go ahead and stick that in there, and what I try and do is I try and get it to where there's some insulation on that last one. So once you crimp the inside, we get a real good crimp on that wire, and then not quite as hard on the outside, but you want to crimp so it actually uses the wire covering as part of the strength. And then what I do is I take the inside for the second connector. A little harder on the second connector, just because it's thicker wire, so it's not quite as easy. And sometimes you can't get the outer protector sheath into the plug, but you just try and do your best, get it all the way up there if you can. Get a good hard crimp on that first one, and then a pretty good crimp on that second one to where it's, hopefully you're not having much showing outside of that. Get some good tugs, make sure they're good. Then you take your plug, like I said, I kind of hold them up, so it's these outer two, and sometimes you do it at the same time so you're not, you know, bending wire too much. Just put them both in there. You'll hear them snap. And so then you got power going to both this plug and this plug. So we'll continue to do that. We'll do another double plug here, and then it looks like these last four are singles. So just go through, replace all the pins just like you would in here. I'm not going to show it all to you. You've seen it done. A single is just like I did that one end. So I'll finish the rest of this, and then I'll show you what the finished product looks like. All right, so the plug's done. Show you a good close-up shot of this plug. You can actually kind of see the black spot where it burned a little bit. You can kind of see that dark area there. And then another thing is I was wrong on the last four. I said you had first 3 sets were double pinned and then it was single pinned. Well, if you look, when I got to it, I realized that it actually is what I call a through. And so it goes through the plug and then on to somewhere else. Well, since you're doing a pin plug, you got to put both wires in. So basically just the 2 wires, just like I showed you with the other one, just put 2 wires in the same pin, and then the last 2 are singles. So this plug is ready to go when the machine's put back together and the board's ready to go.
And now, through the magic of video, 15-second shipping from Great Plains Electronics. Let's go fix this thing.
Okay, we got the transistor ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and test it before I put it in. So get the center lug. We got the 645 and then no connection on the other one. So this transistor is good and ready to be installed. Okay, we got the flipper board. What we're going to do is we're just going to install this in the same configuration that it was when we took it out. And sometimes they go in so easy that you have to worry about them falling out. This one's actually tight enough where I ain't got to worry about it. If it wants to fall out, you want to make sure you have a little bit of space there. You can take the legs and just kind of do one direction and the other, and that'll kind of keep it from falling out if you need to do that. So next we'll take some flux. Go ahead and put a little bit of flux on there. Try not to get too sloppy with it, but you need a little bit there. All right. I'll take some solder. Normally I run the vacuum on this, but trying to keep the noise level down here. All right, now you just take some snips. You want to snip it off just above the solder line. Now I usually take just a little bit of alcohol on a little brush. Just kind of clean that up a little bit, get any extra flux and stuff off of there. I'll just take a little can of air and blow it off. All right, now we'll do one more quick test with the red in the center. Got 618 and no contact. All right, so we're ready to install the board. Okay, so I got the board back in the game. Sorry I don't have any footage of that. Since I got mirror blades on, I actually just reached in the game and put it in so I didn't have to take the playfield back up and risk scratching the mirror blades again. So we're going to turn it on and hope for the fuse doesn't blow. Let's see how things go. All right, here we go. Look for a flash in there if the fuse blows. All right, so far so good. No noises or anything. The flipper's not locked on. So instead of starting a game, I can actually just go into the diagnostics here. Go to switch test. Looks good. All right, both flippers working. All right, so it looks like we're back in business. And that's it for fixing the flipper board on the Jurassic Park. I hope the information I provided will help you diagnose the problems you might have on your own boards, maybe give you a little incentive to try and do some of this yourself. If you like what you see, please like and subscribe and share. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions, and I'll see you guys on the next one.